imagination simply contained in the mind? Or does it tap into an unseen world with messages waiting to be told? There is a place where legends cross over into our world, where strange visions and whispers beckon, and superstition takes hold. Step into the Black Cat's shadow with Andy Ussery.
Hi, and welcome to episode 3 of the Black Cat's Shadow. I'm your host, Andy, podcasting from Kansas City, Missouri. In this Mythos Macabre episode, I will be discussing the movie Carrie from 1976.
It's the night of the senior prom. The Bates High School gym is alive with excitement. Everybody is there, even Carrie White, the girl no one likes.
We're all sorry about this incident, Cassie.
It's Carrie!
And everyone makes fun of her. The girl who lives in that creepy house with her crazy mother.
Help the sinning woman see the sin of her days and ways. Show her that if she had remained sinless, the curse of blood would never have come on her.
The girl with the strange power.
If I concentrate hard enough, I can move things.
But tonight, no one will laugh at Carrie.
You don't have a date for the prom next Friday. Would you like to go with me?
She's with the best-looking boy in the senior class.
He's trying to trick me again.
She'll be voted queen of the prom.
You know, I can make sure that you don't hurt Carrie White anymore.
For Carrie, it will be a dream come true. For everyone else, it will be a nightmare. Carrie. A new film by Brian De Palma. Based on the chilling bestseller. Starring Sissy Spacek, Piper Laurie, and introducing John Travolta in his first motion picture role. If you have a taste for terror, you have a date with Carrie.
The movie touches on themes such as telekinesis and religion, and shows us how the abuse of power affects the ones who wield it and the people around them. I don't know where you're listening from, but here in the Midwest it is starting to get warmer, and I can tell summer is right around the corner. And that gets me in the mood to watch some of my favorite subgenre of horror, the classic summer camp slashers like Friday the 13th, Sleepaway Camp, The Burning, just to name a few. Memorial Day is coming up as well, and well, I like to watch horror movies that are set during a holiday season or day on that day. Like watching Halloween on Halloween, and well, you get the idea. I was trying to think of a Memorial Day horror movie, and what comes to mind is Memorial Valley Massacre from 1989, which is not a great film, but fits the bill because the killer targets campers during a holiday. And hey, it's close enough, and the name of the German and Hungary release of this was Memorial Day. This is even connected with the Sleepaway Camp franchise because it was reissued at some point as Son of Sleepaway Camp. Another 80s slasher appropriate with this time of year is Graduation Day from 1981, and it's not a great title either, but worth a watch. I think Carrie feels like a spring movie since it involves a senior prom, but it is a classic movie that I could watch anytime. I think Carrie feels like a spring movie since it involves a senior prom, but it is a classic movie that I could watch anytime. It's classified as horror, but there is a low body count, and there is a more dramatic feel to it. The last 20 minutes are what make it qualify as horror. Brian De Palma, who not only has this movie to his name, but also Phantom of the Paradise, The Fury, Scarface, and The Untouchables, directed Carrie. The screenplay was adapted from the Stephen King novel by Lawrence Cohen, who also wrote the screenplays for some other Stephen King adaptations, such as It and The Tommyknockers. This was Stephen King's first published novel and the first to be adapted in a film, so it really helped launch his career as a writer. And what can I really say about the prolific horror writer that hasn't already been said? Basically, if you enjoy reading and you are a horror fan, there's most likely dedicated space in your home for Stephen King books. He was my usher into the world of horror for sure. Most of the first horror movies that I saw were from his work. Growing up in the 80s, you had movies like Christine, Children of the Corn, Maximum Overdrive, Carrie, It the miniseries, and the Tommyknockers miniseries. Then as an adult, I got more into reading and read Salem's Lot and was hooked after that. He does a good job of building worlds with rich mythology that you can relate to. It is a perfect example because as a kid, me and my friends spent a lot of time playing in the woods, building forts and playing hide and go seek, so I felt right at home in Derry with the Losers Club. I love the folklore that he weaves into his stories. It reminds me of the ghost stories that my friends and I would tell each other over a campfire or at a sleepover late at night. The movie stars Sissy Spacek as Carrie, who has been in a lot of movies but not a lot of horror. The other horror-related titles she was in was The Ring 2 and An American Haunting. Piper Laurie plays the character of Carrie's mother, Margaret White. She was in Twin Peaks, a 70s horror movie called Ruby. She was Aunt Em in the Wizard of Oz sequel, Return to Oz, that was released in 1985, and is a creepy, weird movie. You should seek that one out if you haven't seen it. William Katt played the popular jock Tommy Ross, and if you grew up in the 80s, you'll recognize him from the TV show The Greatest American Hero. He was also the star of the movie House from 1986, and reprised the role in House 4 in 1992. He also starred in a remake of Piranha from 1978 and 1995. The only remake I knew of was the one from 2010, Piranha 3D. John Travolta is also in this movie, who you all know from a ton of other movies. In Carrie, he plays the boyfriend of the character Chris Hargensen, who is kind of the villain, or the main girl that bullies Carrie. And Nancy Allen, who I recognize from RoboCop 1, 2, and 3, plays Chris Hargensen. She has also been in Poltergeist 3 and Children of the Corn 666. And I definitely can't forget PJ Soles, who plays Norma, another one of the high school girls picking on Carrie. She is most famous for being in John Carpenter's Halloween. She was also in Uncle Sam and The Devil's Rejects. So this movie really helped a lot of younger actors and actresses early on in their careers. Carrie is about a teenage girl named Carrie White who lives with her religious mother. She is an outcast in high school, mainly because of the way she was raised, in a very strict, oppressive, abusive home. Her mother constantly quotes verses from the Bible at her and has brainwashed her into thinking every joy in life is evil. And because of this, she doesn't know how to interact socially with the other kids, and also constantly afraid that she will do something to bring about her mother's wrath. So unfortunately for Carrie, some of the girls want to make fun of her because she is even kept in the dark by her mother about certain facts of life that revolve around sexuality, because that is seen as sinful too. After one of the crueler pranks is played on her, causing her quite a shock, she starts to show signs that she can affect things around her with her mind. She continues to study her newfound skill and gets better at controlling it. As the movie goes on, she is befriended by the gym teacher and helped to be more comfortable in her own skin. Even one of the popular girls gets her boyfriend to ask Carrie to the senior prom. The ending at the prom is what gives this movie its horror cred. After another prank is pulled on Carrie, humiliating her for the last time, she pretty much loses her mind and kills everyone at the prom with her telekinetic powers. Where did this idea of telekinesis come from? Have there been people in real life that have had or claim to have this power? Can this be the explanation for phenomena such as poltergeists or other hauntings?
The power of the human mind. A power that could move objects through space, interact with computers, control the fall of the dice. Is this scientific possibility or just a dream? Can things be moved just by the power of the mind?
Seeing a table move actually scared the hell out of me. It's clear that we were not lifting it with our fingers touching the tabletop very lightly. And this went on for about 3 hours in broad daylight.
Scientists now believe we only use about 7% of our brain capacity. So what of the other 93%? Could there be hidden powers deep in the recesses of our minds? Imagine a power that could think photographs into existence, levitate at will, overcome the laws of chance and change the odds of winning at the casino.
Anything is possible.
It's doing something that science says it shouldn't do.
Many have claimed these extraordinary powers. Were they all just clever frauds? Or is there really such a thing as PK, psychokinesis, the power of the mind to control the physical world? Scientists everywhere are trying to unlock its secrets.
Telekinesis or psychokinesis is the ability to control or move physical objects without physically touching them. An object like a small rock or a heavy chair is seen levitating in the air. A metal spoon is bent with invisible hands. A door opens or closes by itself. These situations also sound like any number of haunting cases that have been reported, but are caused by a specific person. The word psychokinesis was created by author Henry Holt in his book On the Cosmic Relations in 1914. J.B. Rhine was a parapsychologist that created the term ESP, or extrasensory perception, and he started using psychokinesis in 1934 to describe the ability to mentally influence physical objects. His first experiments involved testing people to see if they could control the numbers that came up on rolling a pair of dice. The word telekinesis was created in 1890 by psychic researcher Alexander Askakov. Telekinesis refers to actually moving physical objects with mental powers, as shown in Carrie. Another pop culture example is the Jedi and Sith use of the Force in Star Wars. Scientists believe that we only use a small portion of our brain's capabilities on a daily basis. There have been numerous people claim to possess telekinesis. Have they figured out how to tap into this unused portion of their brain? If so, can everybody learn to do it, or does it take a special talent? Some of the claims have been hoaxes, people found using sleight of hand or other devices like thread to produce the levitation effect. During the height of the spiritualist movement, many mediums claimed to contact spirits that moved objects, but were found to be fakes. Many times magicians like Harry Houdini helped expose the hoaxes. In Eastern cultures, spiritual gurus display miraculous ability with mind over matter, controlling body temperature and heart functions, as well as moving objects. With the invention of film, so-called psychics came out of the woodwork and found new widespread public attention. One such psychic was Uri Geller, who said that he could bend metal with his mind. It was found out that he did have a great ability with sleight of hand, but no real mental powers. So going back to the movie, there was a scene where Carrie was curious about what was happening to her, so she went to the school library to get answers. I could really relate to this scene. As a kid, I saw the library as a mystical place that held the answers to every question or curiosity that I had. In movies, people would stumble across dusty old tomes that would reveal secret knowledge, and as a kid, I firmly believed that that could happen to me as well. So with all the psychics and mediums claiming to have telekinesis, we still have not had anyone display their power in a controlled environment with conditions that would prevent any sleight of hand. Every time scientists tried to study them in a lab, they could not demonstrate the power. In the 80s, there was a growing interest in what were called PK parties, and PK is another term for psychokinesis. At these gatherings, people were invited and guided through rituals and chanting to quote-unquote awaken their telekinetic powers. They were told to jump and scream and create general chaos to make them more open to suggestion. Many people believed that they had moved objects or bent silverware because of these parties. In 1988, author Michael Crichton even claimed to see a woman bend a spoon at one of these parties. The James Randi Educational Foundation has held a $1 million challenge for applicants to provide evidence of their paranormal claims. At this time, I don't think they've had anyone successfully display the powers that they claim to have. In mythology, there are many characters that have had telekinetic powers. Possibly the first recorded was a character from Hindi text from around 400 BC. His name was Shakuni, and he used his powers to manipulate dice to win a game. Jesus could also be considered to have telekinetic powers, from changing water into wine, healing the sick, and multiplying amounts of fish and bread to feed 5,000 people. These would all be perfect examples. Later on in the 12th century, a powerful wizard named Merlin showed us he also had telekinetic talent. According to Arthurian legend, he was able to sail through the ocean in a glass house and move Stonehenge across the Irish Sea from Ireland to England. In the late 70s, the Paralab was created at Princeton University. The Princeton Engineering Anomalies Research Lab conducted studies on ESP and telekinesis. The resulting outcomes showed human subjects were able to produce a small amount of change to things such as a coin-tossing machine and to which way billiard balls rolled when they were dropped. That was significant statistically speaking. These results were so significant that they caught the military's interest. Their interest, of course, was how these powers could be used in times of war. Military officials regularly visited the Paralab. In certain haunting accounts, ones involving physical objects being moved or destroyed, a poltergeist is blamed. Poltergeist is German for noisy ghost, getting its name from its reputation for making loud noises. If that's not disturbing enough, they are also said to bite and scratch the people that are being haunted. The activity is usually centered on one person. Some paranormal researchers believe poltergeists are displays of psychokinesis rather than a ghostly entity. One reason for this belief is that many times the person that is the target of the poltergeist is a teenager, and researchers believe that during adolescent years there is an increased level of emotional stress due to puberty and trying to be socially accepted. These changes could cause increased mental activity and activate unused portions of the brain that we as yet do not understand. This description fits what's going on in Carrie perfectly. Being unable to defend herself physically, she called upon a higher power to protect her, but it was her own mind that answered instead of God. And unfortunately for Carrie, this new power she discovers within herself ends up destroying her world, taking away all the things that she so desperately longed for. With things like mind-controlled video games, mind-to-mind interfacing experiments, and mind-to-machine computers being created, we may soon be able to control more than we imagined with just our minds. Thanks again for joining me. I appreciate you listening. I do appreciate your feedback as well. You can leave me a review on iTunes or shoot me an email at blackcatpodcast@gmail.com or send me a message on Facebook. Just look up Black Cat's Shadow, or you can follow me on Twitter at Black Cat Podcast. On Twitter, I usually share horror and science fiction news and whatever else catches my attention. I recently joined Horror Amino as well, so you can find me there too. In June, I will be starting my business selling movie memorabilia. You can check out my eBay page by going to my website, www.blackcatsshadow.com, and clicking on the eBay button on the side. So until next time, remember to take a closer look at the world around you, and you might just find that it is stranger and more mysterious than you thought, especially in the Black Cat's shadow.